What's up guys and welcome back to On the Brick with another episode of On the MOC. I wish sincerely that I could express to you the joy, jubilation, and outright wonder that I have been feeling these last few days. If my voice sounds different, sore, or as weird as it feels right now, that is because Argentina just won the Copa America for the first time in my entire life. And I cannot express just how much that actually means. That literally has nothing to do with today's video, but I am just still so happy and I needed to share. So anyway, let's get on to the mocks that you guys have created. We're gonna start with a simple one that has a ton of information. This piece is supposed to look like Ike versus the Black Knight from Fire Emblem. I have never played that, so I don't know, and it has about 200 pieces. Like I just said, it comes from the video game Fire Emblem Path of Radiance, and he's trying to give as many details as possible because it's such a small mock. His words, not me. Oh, and I think I said it, but this comes from Rant Gaming. He says that one thing he wanted to make sure to know is that the character with the red cape is Ike, and he is supposed to have blue hair, but he went with black hair because, well, blue hair is hard to find. And he mentioned that this mock is basically just the plot for Fire Emblem Path of Radiance, so the Black Knight killed Ike's father and Ike wants revenge. This sounds very similar to Princess Bride. Is that the name of the movie? Oh my goodness, this is a much older game than I thought it was. I thought this was new, but it was like GameCube era. Anyway, I always love these smaller diorama type mocks as well, or these like character display mocks, so thank you for submitting. Up next is one from the Brick Bulbasaur, who has submitted before, but for some reason did not include any information on this. There is literally no name, no piece count, there's nothing here. The only thing is that one of the images was titled Springtrap, so I assume that's the name of this. I get FNAF vibes out of this, or Five Nights at Freddy's, which is just difficult for me to say for some reason, and I'm sure you can tell exactly why. This is like a Brickhead styled version of one of the animals, which I'm guessing is named Springtrap. Be right back. Look at that, Sherlock Holmes over here. This is in fact a Brickhead version of this Springtrap, whatever these things are called. Most of you have done a very, very good job at doing this, but I just want to remind you that if you are submitting a mock, please do include your information with it so that I can share it with the people. This next mock comes from Ivy, who at some point is going to have an entire video dedicated just to their builds because they seriously have so many mocks. Funnily enough, in the information for this mock, they actually admit that they have a problem making mocks. I don't see it that way though, but this is the Wright Brothers flyer. It has 312 pieces and is fully buildable. You'll just have to change out the color of some of those wedge plates at the front of this build because they don't come in tan. I did want to show off this particular build on its own as opposed to the full episode because it's not a Star Wars mock like everything else that he has built. Also, it's just really cool. Without the Wright Brothers first flight, well, eventually we would have flown anyway. That's kind of how it worked, but it really did help kickstart a lot of different things. Now, by just looking at this, I do think the build is a little on the fragile side, but it would still make for a really nice display piece. Up next is another mock from Jetbrick Studios, who I haven't shown off in quite some time now, and this is part of the Dark Times RPG, and is part of something called the Death Wish collaboration. This is the first part of it, and is called Storming the Base. It took him about 6 days to build, and unfortunately he does not have a piece count for it. Like I just said, I love these display type pieces. I think they're really cool. I love the snot techniques used here, including, ironically enough, the use of studs to break up the ground a little bit. But there's also just a ton of detail actually in this mock. I really like the use of the transparent pieces to show the rocket going off towards the clone there, and the greebling is exceptionally well done as well. This is a seriously well made build. Jetbrick Studios has done quite a few of these if you go to his Flickr account, and he really knows what he's doing. He's also the reason that my Discord is a lot nicer now than it was when we first started, and he really deserves the praise for that. Him and the rest of my mods have done a really good job. Now we're going to move on to a mock that took 30 hours to build and has 3,500 pieces, including an interior, This is the ATM6 from Capoedri. At some point I have to make one of these. I love the aesthetic of the First Order, and this is a beast of a build. I think I actually bought the instructions for this from him too, so maybe one day I actually will build this. I need to remember that. But yeah, you can tell that a lot of work went into making this, and it really does look good. I love how smooth everything is. I love how nice it looks. I do also love that you have like the little hinge to open up the inside so you can get troopers in there. My one and only concern for this is the same for any style walker build, and that is if the legs can actually hold up the model. While I'm sure they can, it is a concern that I wanted to share. This looks really good, and I am sorry it took so long to include. Moving on to another mock, this is the minifig scale Stinger Mantis from Jedi Fallen Order. This one comes from the builder The Last Brick Bender, and they don't really know how many pieces it has, but they say over 3,000, potentially over 4,000. It has an almost full interior, and it took about 2 weeks to build. And I'm not surprised, at minifig scale, this is quite the beast to actually put together. Especially when you make it so you can actually rotate the wings, and then add the full interior like you did. There's 3 seats in the cockpit. I also love that you included the armrests, by the way. There's also the map area where you choose to go to in the game, the kitchen, which doesn't really do anything but is still nice to include, and of course where you can build your lightsaber and change it. Last week we also had a Fallen Order mock, and it was very good, and I will repeat what I said then. If you haven't already, I would highly recommend playing the game. It is totally worth it. I would also really love to have a Lego Stinger Mantis one day, and again I have instructions for like 3 or 4 of them, so one day it'll happen. But for now, I will just look at this build from The Last Brick Bender. And the last mock for today comes from Truffles. He also had stuff in the last episode, and this is his custom droid Tri-Fighter. It is 988 pieces and took about 4 hours of designing. Having just built BrickVault's version, this is definitely very similar. But I actually kind of like how this one looks a little more. This one just has a bit of a more smooth feel to it, and I also like how a buzz droid was included. Oh, I just realized there's actually 2 in this image, 2 buzz droids. There's even a stand for it, which is very nice and very thoughtful of him to include. And from what I can tell, there's no like super rare or extraordinary pieces included in this, and it seems very buildable. I can also tell that there's no hoses used in this build at all. It's just hinge pieces, which is interesting. I wonder how stable that makes it. I think this is very well designed, and hopefully one day you can build it in person. But for the rest of you, please do let me know what your thoughts on all of these mocks are, and as always, which one was your favorite. Instructions to submit your mock are in the description down below. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already, and as always, a huge thank you to all of my patrons, including the likes of Jonathan and Project Elements. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm going to go rest my voice now, and I will see you next time.